part of what we've talked about are the business terms in terms of rent, and if you default, how you have to get notice and what the remedies are for a default. But you also have to worry about who's taking care of what in terms of maintaining the property, and that would also be in the lease as well, right?
Sure, that would all be the lease. It depends on the situation. Normally, in an office lease context, the landlord maintains the structure, the building systems, the common area, but the tenant would maintain the interior of the space. The flooring, the interior non-structural walls. Normally the landlord maintains the systems, as I said, but if a tenant has particular needs for air conditioning, electricity, let's say they have a server in their space, some sort of supplemental technology type system. Well, they would probably need their own HVAC system for that particular office or suite of offices. In that case, that would be their maintenance responsibility.
So that's akin to our situation where there's base building HVAC, but then there's unit-specific HVAC, and the base building is maintained by the property owner, but
Right.
the unit-specific stuff we have to take care of.
Right, and there's so many issues that can come up with all these topics. What happens at the end of the term? Does a tenant have to take that equipment out at the end of the term? Or is there a penalty if they leave it there? Can the tenant reuse it? Can the landlord make some use of it? Those are all things that really get into the nitty-gritty as you get into the lease negotiations.
I'm flashing back to a moment of individual bitterness on my part, where at our old space before we moved, we had a very small supplemental unit that amazingly failed in less than 10 years, and we had to replace it, and it cost us like 25 grand. But in our lease, that became a fixture that attached to the landlord, so the landlord got to keep it even though we only needed it for 1 year, which is
really,
very frustrating.
you think that's a windfall for the landlord, and it probably is, but it would be not always easy for that landlord to make use of that for the next occupant of that space. In a large retail lease, I often try and sometimes get, if that situation happens, you have a new HVAC on the roof for that retail space, for the landlord to buy back it from the tenant based on its amortized life. If it's got 10 years life left on it, if the landlord can make reuse of it, they pay the tenant for that at the end of the term.